The Nevada sun hung low on Highway 95, painting the asphalt in shades of copper and rust. Jackson Reeves felt the familiar rumble of his Harley beneath him, a 2023 Road King black as midnight chrome, gleaming like polished bone. The wind carved around his leather jacket, around the faded Hells Angels insignia on his back, around 20 years of choices he couldn't take back. He was 58 years old enough to know better, too old to change. The highway stretched ahead like a promise no one intended to keep. Empty, endless, just the way he liked it. Jackson had left Carson City that morning with no destination in mind, just needed to ride. Needed the engine's growl to drown out the silence in his head. 6 years since Diane died. 6 years, 2 months, and 14 days if anyone was counting. He was counting. The town of Dusty Ridge appeared like a mirage, a scatter of buildings clinging to the roadside, desperate and defiant. Population sign said 342. Jackson figured that was optimistic. Places like this were dying slow bleeding people to the cities to anywhere with a future. He wasn't here for the future. His gas gauge hovered near empty, his throat was dry, and there up ahead a diner with a flickering neon sign that read Holloway's Rest in letters that had seen better decades. Jackson downshifted, felt the bike respond beneath him like a living thing. The parking lot was cracked asphalt and faded yellow lines. 3 vehicles total: a rusted pickup truck that looked like it had survived the Cold War, a Honda Civic with mismatched panels, and something else that caught his eye. A Harley, old, dusty, sitting off to the side like a forgotten promise. He pulled into a spot and killed the engine. The sudden silence was louder than the ride. Jackson sat for a moment, hands still on the grips, breathing in the desert air. Sage and dust and gasoline. The smell of the American West. The smell of going nowhere. He swung his leg over the bike and stood. His boots hit the ground with a sound like judgment. 6'2", 220 pounds of muscle going soft around the edges. Gray threading through his beard. Lines around his eyes from squinting into too many sunsets. The diner looked like it belonged in a different era. Metal siding, big windows, a hand-painted menu board visible through the glass. The kind of place that served coffee in thick ceramic mugs and didn't give a damn about Yelp reviews. Jackson started toward the entrance, then stopped. A sound, faint but unmistakable. An engine trying to turn over. Failing. Trying again. The wet, choking cough of a flooded carburetor. Then a woman's voice, low and fierce. "Come on, you son of a bitch. Don't do this to me." Jackson turned toward the sound. Around the side of the building in the gravel lot behind the diner, he saw her. A woman. Old, maybe 70. Short gray hair catching the last of the sunlight. Thin framed shoulders squared like a boxer's. She stood beside the Harley he'd noticed, one hand on the handlebars, the other gripping the starter with white knuckles. The motorcycle was a Softail. Mid-90s Jackson guessed. Maybe a 1995 Heritage. It had been beautiful once. Black paint, chrome accents, leather saddlebags worn soft by years and weather. But time and neglect had done their work. Rust bloomed along the exhaust pipes like cancer. The chrome was dull-spotted, the leather cracked and faded. The woman yanked the starter again. The engine coughed, sputtered, died. God damn it. She kicked the rear tire. Hard. Like it had personally betrayed her. Jackson found himself walking toward her. He didn't decide to. His feet just moved. "Ma'am," his voice came out rougher than intended. "You need some help." She spun around. Her eyes were sharp, blue, the kind of blue you see in winter skies just before a storm. She looked him up and down, the leather jacket, the tattoos visible on his neck and hands, the beard, the boots, the angel's insignia. Reading him the way you'd read a warning label on something dangerous. "I don't need charity," she said. "Wasn't offering charity, just asking a question." They stood there in the gravel, sizing each other up. The sun slipped lower. Shadows stretched long across the desert floor. "You know bikes?" she asked finally. "Some." She gestured at the Harley with something between affection and contempt. "This piece of junk was my husband's. He died 9 years ago. I haven't touched it since. Haven't even tried to start it. Until today." Jackson moved closer, studied the bike with a mechanic's eye. The tires were cracked, dry-rotted. The fuel line looked suspect. The battery was probably dead as last year's dreams. "Why today?" he asked. The woman's jaw tightened. Her right hand trembled slightly. She noticed him noticing and shoved the hand into her cardigan pocket. "Because I need to get to Boulder City. My car's dead. The bus doesn't run out here anymore. Taxi won't come this far. And this," she patted the Harley's dusty tank, "is the only other option I've got." Boulder City's 45 minutes away, on a good bike. This one, I know. Her voice cracked, just for a second. Then she pulled it back together, reined it in like a horse about to bolt. I know it's a long shot, but I need to try that. Jackson crouched beside the bike, popped open the inspection cover. The smell hit him immediately. Old oil gone thick. Gasoline that had turned to varnish. 9 years of sitting still while the world moved on. What's in Boulder City that's so important? The woman pulled a prescription bottle from her pocket. Empty. She shook it like it might magically refill itself. Medication. For Parkinson's. Her hand trembled again, more visibly now. She didn't try to hide it this time. I ran out this morning. The pharmacy here closed 6 months ago. Nearest one is Boulder City. I need to get there. Today. Before. She didn't finish the sentence. She didn't have to. Jackson stood slowly, looked at the bike, looked at the woman, looked at the sun getting lower, the desert getting darker. This bike won't make it, he said. Spark plugs are shot, carburetors probably varnished shut. Batteries deader than disco. Even if we got it running, it'd die 10 miles down the road and leave you stranded. The woman's shoulders sagged. Instead, just a fraction. Just enough for Jackson to see the weight she was carrying. The weight of being alone, of being sick, of being out of options. Then I guess that's it. She turned away from him, stared out at the desert, at the emptiness. I guess that's just it. Jackson thought about his own bike, thought about the road ahead, thought about Diane in a hospital bed, her hand in his, her voice barely a whisper. Promise me you'll help people, Jackson, when you can. Promise me you won't just ride away from everything. He'd promised. Then he'd spent 6 years doing exactly what he'd promised not to do. Ma'am, he said, look at me. She turned, those blue eyes, that storm sky blue. My bike's out front, running good. I can get you to Boulder City in 40 minutes. I don't know you. No, you don't. You could be anyone. Could be dangerous. I'm someone with a working motorcycle and 40 minutes to spare, and you're someone who needs help. He paused. Sometimes that's enough. She studied his face. He let her look, let her see whatever she needed to see. The lines around his eyes, the gray in his beard, the road-worn leather, the club insignia that marked him as either salvation or trouble depending on who was looking. Why would you do that, she asked. For a stranger, Jackson thought about that, about Diane, about all the promises broken and kept, about 6 years of running from everything that mattered. Because someone I loved would want me to. The woman's eyes softened, just slightly, just enough. She looked at her husband's Harley one more time, ran her hand along the dusty tank, a gesture of goodbye or apology or both. Then she looked back at Jackson. What's your name? Jackson Reeves. Beatrice Holloway. She extended her hand. The tremor was visible now. She didn't try to hide it anymore. People call me B. Jackson took her hand. Her grip was stronger than it looked, stronger than it had any right to be. Let me get my medication bag from inside, Beatrice said. Give me 2 minutes. She started toward the diner, then stopped, turned back. Jackson. Yes, ma'am. Can you really ride fast enough to get there before dark, before the pharmacy closes? He looked at her, looked at the desperation wrapped in dignity, looked at a woman asking a stranger for help because she had no other choice and no other hope. I can ride, Beatrice nodded once. Sharp, decisive, like a drill sergeant accepting a recruit's oath. Then she disappeared around the corner. Jackson stood alone in the gravel lot with the dying Harley. He ran his hand along the tank, felt the grit and rust under his fingers, felt the weight of another man's life, another man's love, collecting dust in the desert heat. The sun touched the horizon, the sky turned amber and rose and purple. Jackson walked back to his bike, checked the fuel, nearly full, checked the tire pressure. Good. Started the engine and listened to it purr like a satisfied cat. Beatrice emerged from the diner carrying a small canvas bag. She'd added a leather jacket old worn at the elbows, the kind that had seen better days but refused to quit. She walked with purpose, with the kind of dignity that doesn't ask for pity or offer explanations. A woman in her 70s stood in the doorway watching, gray hair, worried eyes. "Bee, honey, you sure about this?" the woman called. "I'm sure, Iris. I'll be back in a few hours." "You don't even know this man." "I know enough." Beatrice kept walking. "Lock up if I'm not back by 9. "You ever ride passenger?" Jackson asked when she reached the bike. "Not in 30 years. My husband used to take me. Before the Parkinson's. Before everything else." She looked at the Road King like it might bite her. Before I got old, it'll come back to you, like riding a bicycle. I never liked bicycles much. Then it'll be better than that. She almost smiled, almost. Jackson swung his leg over the settled into the seat. Beatrice hesitated, then climbed on behind him. She was light, lighter than he expected. Lighter than seemed right for a woman who'd lived 70-something years. He felt her hands grip his jacket at the waist. Tentative, unsure. Hold on tighter than that, Jackson said. Put your arms around my ribs and lean with me in the turns. Don't fight it. The bike knows what it's doing. Her grip tightened. He felt her arms circle his torso, felt the tremor in her hands through the leather. Ready, he asked. No. A pause. But let's go anyway. Jackson kicked the bike into gear, felt it surge beneath them like a living thing waking up, pointed them toward the highway, toward Boulder City, toward whatever waited in the fading light. They hit Highway 95 and Jackson opened the throttle. The world condensed to motion and wind, and the white line disappearing beneath them like miles of regret being left behind. The Harley roared a sound older than America's wars, as primal as thunder, as honest as hunger. Beatrice's grip tightened around Jackson's waist. Through the mirrors, he could see her face, eyes closed. Not from fear, from something else. Memory, maybe? Or prayer, or both. The desert stretched on both sides like a held breath, sage and sand and silence broken only by their passage. The sun melted into the mountains, bleeding orange and red across the sky like a wound that wouldn't heal. Jackson pushed the bike to 90, then 95. The speedometer needle climbed toward 100. Behind him, Beatrice didn't flinch. In fact, and Jackson felt this through her grip, through the way her body moved with the bike. Instead of against it, she relaxed, like she'd done this before. Like muscle memory was older and deeper than Parkinson's, older than fear, older than the years that had tried to break her. The highway curved and Jackson leaned. Beatrice leaned with him. Perfect synchronicity. Two strangers moving as one. 20 minutes in, she spoke, her voice barely audible over the wind. You ride like Douglas. Jackson didn't respond. Didn't ask who Douglas was. Knew it was the husband. Knew it was a compliment and an elegy all at once. 25 minutes. 30. The sky darkened from amber to violet to deep blue. Stars emerged like distant promises nobody could keep. Jackson saw the lights of Boulder City ahead. A constellation of human stubbornness against the empty dark. Proof that people still tried, still built, still hoped. He slowed as they entered town. 50, 40, 35. The bike's growl softened to a purr. The pharmacy, Beatrice said, on Highway 93, next to the hardware store. Jackson found it, pulled into the lot, killed the engine. The silence rushed back in like water filling a hole, like the world remembering how to breathe. Beatrice climbed off, stumbled slightly. Jackson steadied her with one hand. I'm okay, she said, but she wasn't. The tremor had spread from her hands to her arms. The ride, the adrenaline, the fear, all of it catching up at once. I'll wait here, Jackson said. She nodded, walked toward the pharmacy. Each step measured, controlled, refusing to hurry even though her body was betraying her, refusing to show weakness even though weakness was all she had left. Jackson watched her go, watched her pull open the glass door, disappear inside under fluorescent lights. He sat on his bike in the empty parking lot and wondered what the hell he was doing. He should be in Carson City by now. Should be at the clubhouse with Gideon and the rest of the brothers. Should be anywhere but here helping a stranger he'd known for less than an hour. But Diane's voice whispered in his head, that same voice from the hospital bed, weak but determined. Promise me you'll help people when you can. Promise me you won't become someone who just rides past. He'd broken a lot of promises in his life, but not that one. Not anymore. 15 minutes passed, then 20. Jackson started to worry, started thinking about going in, started imagining worst-case scenarios. Then Beatrice emerged. She held a white paper bag clutched to her chest like it contained something precious. Her walk was steadier, the tremor less pronounced. She'd taken the medication inside, he realized. Couldn't wait even to get back. Couldn't risk the ride home without it. She approached the bike, stood there looking at him, really looking. Thank you, she said. And in those two words, Jackson heard everything she wasn't saying. Heard the fear, the relief, the grudging trust, the surprise that a tattooed stranger on a Harley had turned out to be exactly what she needed. You need to get back, she nodded. Then let's ride. The return trip was different. Beatrice held on from the start firm, confident. She leaned into the curves without hesitation. Once on a long, straight stretch under a sky full of stars, Jackson felt her grip loosen slightly, felt her right hand lift just for a moment, palm out to the wind. Freedom. That's what it was. The simple, pure freedom of not being sick, not being scared, not being alone. They pulled into the gravel lot behind Holloway's Rest as full dark settled over the desert. The diner's lights glowed warm through the windows. The old Harley Softail sat where they'd left it, waiting, patient, a monument to better days. Jackson killed the engine. Beatrice climbed off with more grace than she'd climbed on. She pulled off her leather jacket, ran a hand through her short gray hair. "You hungry?" she asked. Jackson realized he was. Hadn't eaten since breakfast in Carson City a lifetime ago. "Could eat." "Come on then. Least I can do is feed you." The diner was nearly empty. The woman from before Iris stood behind the counter. She looked up as they entered. Her eyes went from Beatrice to Jackson and back again, reading the story written in the road dust and the relief. "B, honey, you okay? You were gone so long, I was about to call the sheriff." "I'm fine, Iris. Just had to make a run to Boulder City." Beatrice gestured at Jackson. "Jackson Reeves, meet Iris Brennan. She's worked here longer than I've owned the place." Jackson nodded. Iris nodded back. A cautious, measuring nod that said she was reserving judgment, but leaning toward approval. "Sit anywhere you like," Beatrice said. "I'll bring you something to eat." "You don't have to. I'm going to, so sit." There was steel in her voice, the voice of someone used to being obeyed. Jackson sat at the counter. He watched Beatrice move behind it with the efficiency of someone who'd done this 10,000 times. Watched her pour coffee, 2 cups, both black. Watched her hands. The tremor was still there, but softer now. The medication working, buying her a few more hours of normal. She set a cup in front of him. Steam rose in lazy spirals. "I'm not much of a cook anymore," she said, "but I can manage a decent burger." "That okay?" "That's fine." She disappeared into the kitchen. Iris wiped down the counter, shooting glances at Jackson when she thought he wasn't looking. "You're not from around here," Iris said. Not quite a question. "Carson City. Long way to come for dinner. Wasn't planning on dinner, was just passing through." "Funny how that works out sometimes." Iris leaned on the counter, lowered her voice. "I've known B for 20 years, since she and Douglas bought this place. Never seen her let a stranger help her before. Never seen her get on a motorcycle since Douglas died." She paused. "So either you're very persuasive or she's more desperate than she's letting on." "Maybe both." "Maybe." Iris straightened. "Just so you know, she's good people. Been through enough. Don't need anyone making things harder." It wasn't a threat, just information. A warning shot across the bow. "Understood," Jackson said. Through the kitchen door, he could hear Beatrice moving around. The sizzle of meat on a griddle, the scrape of a spatula. Small sounds of normalcy that felt like peace. Beatrice returned with a plate. Burger, fries, everything cooked just right. She set it in front of Jackson and leaned against the counter. "You mentioned Carson City," she said. "That where you're headed back to tonight?" "Was planning on it. Long ride in the dark." Jackson cut into the burger. Took a bite. Better than decent. Better than he'd had in months. "I've done longer." Beatrice watched him eat for a moment. "Then I have a room upstairs. Used to rent it out before the highway bypass went through and took all our traffic. It's clean, empty. You're welcome to it if you want to wait until morning." Jackson looked up, met her eyes. "Why would you offer that? Because you helped me. Because it's late. Because..." She stopped, started again. "Because someone I loved would want me to." The echo of his own words, thrown back at him like a gift. Jackson set down his burger. "Your husband. Douglas. Yes." She poured herself coffee. "He was a pilot. Air Force, flew F-16s in the Gulf War. Came back and never wanted to fly again. Bought this place instead. Said he'd had enough of the sky. Wanted solid ground under his feet." And the Harley, a small smile crossed her face. Sad and sweet and complicated. That was his one concession to speed, to freedom. He'd ride out into the desert on Sundays, sometimes alone, sometimes with me on the back. Said it was the only time he felt quiet inside. She looked out the window at the dark desert. Said it was the only time the war didn't follow him. Jackson understood that, understood it better than he wanted to. What happened to him? Heart attack. Right out there in the parking lot. She pointed through the window. "We were closing up the diner, 9 years ago last March. He just grabbed his chest and fell, dead before the ambulance came. Beatrice stared into her coffee. He was 71. I was 59. We were supposed to have more time. We're always supposed to have more time. She looked at him, really looked. You lost someone too. It wasn't a question. My wife, Diane, 6 years ago. Car accident. Drunk driver ran a red light in San Diego. I'm sorry. So am I. They sat in silence. The coffee cooled. Outside, the desert wind picked up, rattling the diner's windows like it wanted in. Finally, Beatrice said, "The room upstairs, it's yours if you want it. No strings, no expectations, just a place to sleep." Jackson thought about the road, about riding back to Carson City in the dark, about the empty apartment waiting for him there, about another night of not sleeping, of staring at the ceiling, of counting the days since Diane died. "I'd appreciate that," he said. Beatrice nodded. "Finish your dinner, I'll make up the bed." She disappeared up a narrow stairway at the back of the diner. Iris materialized beside Jackson with the coffee pot. "Refill, Taya." "Thanks." She poured. "You know she hasn't let anyone upstairs since Douglas died? Hasn't rented that room to a single soul?" "She told me. Just wanted to make sure you knew." Iris capped the coffee pot. "She's careful with her trust. Real careful. So if she's giving it to you, don't waste it." "Wasn't planning to." Iris studied him for a long moment, reading him the way Beatrice had, looking for something, apparently finding it. "Good. Eat your fries. They're better hot." Jackson ate, finished his coffee. By the time he was done, Beatrice had come back downstairs. "Room's ready. Fresh sheets, towels in the bathroom. Lock on the door if you want it." "Thank you." "Don't thank me yet. The mattress is old and the water pressure's terrible, but it's clean." Jackson stood. "I'll take my bike around back. Don't want it blocking your entrance. There's a tarp in the storage shed if you want to cover it. Weather can turn quick out here. Dust storms, rain when you least expect it." He nodded, headed for the door. "Jackson." He turned. Beatrice stood behind the counter, lit from above by the old fluorescent lights. Small and fierce and tired, and somehow still standing. "Why'd you really help me today?" she asked. "Truth." Jackson considered lying, considered a dozen easy answers that would sound good and mean nothing. Told the truth instead. "Because I spent 6 years after my wife died not helping anyone, not even myself, and I'm tired of being that person." Beatrice's expression softened. Something like recognition flickered in her eyes. "Douglas used to say the same thing after he came back from the war. Said he was tired of being the person combat made him. That's why he opened this place. To be someone different. Someone who fed people instead of..." She stopped. "Someone different. Did it work?" "Some days." She picked up a dish rag, folded it carefully. Some days he was still that pilot. Still fighting, still seeing things he couldn't unsee. But this place, this little diner in the middle of nowhere, gave him something to fight for instead of against. Jackson understood that too. Understood it in his bones. He went outside, moved his bike around back, parked it beside Douglas's old Softail. In the moonlight, the two Harleys looked like father and son. One pristine and powerful, one forgotten and failing, both waiting for something. Jackson found the tarp in the storage shed, covered his bike, then stood there in the gravel looking at Douglas's machine. 9 years of neglect, of sitting still while the world moved on, of rust and dust and dreams deferred. He crouched beside it, ran his hand along the tank. The paint was rough with dust and oxidation. The chrome spotted with rust, but underneath, he could see what it had been, could see the care someone had put into it. The love. On impulse, Jackson pulled his phone from his pocket, called Gideon. 2 rings. "Boss, where the hell are you?" "Dusty Ridge. About 90 miles southeast of Carson." "What's in Dusty Ridge?" "A woman who needed help. I'm staying the night. Be back tomorrow." A pause. "You okay, boss?" "Yeah, I'm okay. Listen, you still have those parts for the 95 Softail we scrapped last month?" "Some of them. Why?" "I need a carburetor rebuild kit. New spark plugs, fuel filter, battery if you've got one." "Boss, what are you doing?" "Helping someone." Another pause. Longer this time. Jackson heard something in the silence. Understanding, maybe. Or hope. "Diane would be proud of you," Gideon said finally. The words hit harder than Jackson expected. "Maybe. No, maybe. She would be. I'll get the parts together. You need them brought out." "Not yet. I'll let you know." "Okay, be safe, boss." "Always am." Jackson hung up, looked at the old Harley again. Tomorrow, he thought, tomorrow I'll see what I can do. He headed back inside. Beatrice and Iris were wiping down tables getting ready to close for the night. Room's at the top of the stairs, Beatrice said. Second door on the right. Got it. Thank you again. Sleep well, Jackson Reeves. He climbed the narrow stairs, found the room. It was small, single-bed nightstand, dresser, one window looking out over the desert. Clean like she'd promised. Simple. Honest. Jackson sat on the bed, took off his boots, lay back, and stared at the ceiling. He thought about Diane, about the promise he'd made, about Beatrice standing in the gravel beside a dead motorcycle asking, "Can you ride?" He thought about Douglas, a pilot who came home from war and bought a diner, who rode a Harley into the desert on Sundays looking for quiet, looking for peace, looking for a way to be someone other than what the war had made him. He thought about all the broken things in the world, all the things that couldn't be fixed, and the few that could. Jackson closed his eyes, listened to the desert wind, listened to the old buildings settle and creak, listened to the sound of his own breathing. For the first time in 6 years, he fell asleep without seeing Diane's face in those last moments, without hearing the screech of tires and breaking glass, without counting the days he'd lost. He slept and dreamed of motorcycles and open roads and second chances that might actually mean something. When Jackson woke, dawn was breaking over the desert. Light crept through the thin curtains, painting the small room in shades of gold and amber. He checked his phone. 6:45. He'd slept 8 hours straight. Hadn't done that since before Diane died. He dressed, pulled on his boots, splashed water on his face from the bathroom sink. The water pressure was terrible, just like Beatrice had warned, but the water was clean and cold and honest. Downstairs, the diner was just opening. Early morning light streamed through the windows. Iris was setting up the coffee station. Beatrice was nowhere in sight. "Coffee?" Iris asked. "Please." She poured a cup. Black, steam rising. "Bees out back. Been there since 6. Jackson took his coffee and walked through the kitchen, pushed open the back door. Beatrice stood beside Douglas's Harley. She wasn't trying to start it, just standing there with one hand on the handlebar, looking at it the way you'd look at an old friend you'd neglected for too long. "Morning," Jackson said softly. She turned. Her eyes were clearer this morning. The medication working, buying her time. "Morning, you sleep okay?" "Better than I have in years." "Good." She looked back at the bike. "I was thinking about what you said yesterday, about this not making it to Boulder City, about it being too far gone. I said it needed work, didn't say it was too far gone. There's a difference." Beatrice ran her hand along the tank, leaving tracks in the dust. "What would it take to make it run again?" Jackson set down his coffee, approached the bike like a doctor examining a patient, crouched beside it, checked the tires cracked but not blown, the chain rusty but intact, the fuel line brittle but replaceable. Carburetor needs rebuilding, new spark plugs, fuel filter, battery for sure, oil change, brake fluid, probably a dozen other small things. He looked up at her. "Why, wait? Because I want to ride it again." Her voice was firm, decided. "One more time. I want to feel what Douglas felt. I want to—" She stopped, started again. "I want to remember what it was like before everything got hard, before I got sick, before I was alone." Jackson understood. God help him, he understood completely. "I can fix it," he said, "if you want me to." "You'd do that?" "I would." "Why, you don't owe me anything. You already helped me more than I had any right to ask." Jackson looked at the old Harley, at 9 years of dust and rust and neglect, at something beautiful that had been loved and then forgotten because remembering hurt too much. "Maybe I'm not doing it for you," he said. "Maybe I'm doing it for me. Maybe I need to know I can still fix broken things." Beatrice studied his face. "Because of your wife. Because of a lot of things." She nodded slowly. "How long would it take?" "A week, maybe less if the parts come quick and nothing's seized up too bad. I'd need to order some things, need a workspace, tools. There's a garage behind the storage shed. Douglas used to work on the bike there. Tools are still inside. Everything's still there. I couldn't—" Her voice caught. "I couldn't bring myself to touch any of it. I'd have to stay. Can't fix it and ride back and forth to Carson City every day. The room's yours as long as you need it. I'll pay rent and for the parts. We can work that out." Beatrice extended her hand. "Deal." Jackson took it. Her grip was steady this morning. The medication buying her hours of normal, hours of being who she used to be. "Deal." They shook. Two people making a bargain over a broken motorcycle and unspoken wounds, and the hope that some things could still be made whole. I need to make some calls, Jackson said. Get the parts ordered. Use the phone in the office, it's quieter there. The office was small, cluttered, photos on the walls, Beatrice and Douglas on their wedding day. Douglas in his flight suit. The diner when it was new. A life in pictures. Jackson called Gideon first, gave him the list of parts. Gideon promised to have everything shipped overnight to Dusty Ridge. You're really doing this, Gideon asked. I'm really doing this. How long you planning to stay? However long it takes. Silence, then. Tommy says to tell you the club's doing fine. Says to take your time. Says we've got your back. Tell him thanks. And boss, whatever you're finding out there, don't let it go. You sound like yourself again. Like the old Jackson, the one from before. After Gideon, Jackson called Natalie, his daughter, 35 years old, a cardiologist in Portland, Oregon. They hadn't spoken in 8 months, hadn't really talked in 8 years. The phone rang 4 times. He was about to hang up when she answered. Dad, her voice, Christ, her voice. So much like Diane's, it hurt to hear it. Hey, sweetheart. Silence. Then, is everything okay? You never call. Did something happen? Everything's fine. I wanted you to know I'm going to be out of touch for a week or so, working on a project. What kind of project? Fixing a motorcycle for someone who needs it. More silence. Processing. Are you in some kind of trouble? No, nothing like that, just helping someone out. That doesn't sound like you. The words came out before she could stop them. Then, I'm sorry, I didn't mean... No, you're right, it doesn't sound like me. Maybe I'm trying to be different. He heard Natalie take a breath, let it out slow. Where are you, Timmy? Little town in Nevada. Dusty Ridge. Middle of nowhere. Never heard of it. Most people haven't. It's the kind of place that's dying slow. But there's a woman here who needs help, and I'm going to help her. Another pause. Longer this time. Dad, are you really okay? Jackson looked out the office window, saw Beatrice in the diner setting up for breakfast, saw the old Harley waiting in the morning light, saw the desert stretching away forever empty and honest and unforgiving. I think I might be, he said, for the first time in a long time, for the first time since your mom died. Good. Natalie's voice cracked slightly. That's good. Call me when you're done. Let me know you're safe. I will, I promise. Okay, be careful, Dad. Love you, sweetheart. Love you too. Jackson hung up, sat in the quiet office for a moment, surrounded by photos of strangers who'd built a life together, who'd loved each other, who'd made something that mattered. Then he went back out to begin. The day passed in a blur of assessment and planning. Jackson pulled the Harley into Douglas's old garage. The space was dusty, but organized tools hung on pegboards sorted by size and function. Parts bins labeled in neat handwriting. Oil stains on the concrete floor that told stories of maintenance and care. Evidence of a man who took care of his things, who understood that love was in the details. Jackson started with a full assessment, removed the spark plugs foul beyond saving electrodes worn down to nubs, drained the old gas from the tank. It came out thick as syrup, brown and reeking of decay. 9 years of sitting still, checked the battery dead as expected, terminals corroded white with age. Beatrice brought him lunch around noon, sandwich and chips on a paper plate. How's it looking? She asked. About what I expected. Nothing I can't fix, but it'll take time. She sat on an overturned bucket watching him work. Douglas spent hours out here. I'd bring him dinner sometimes and find him just sitting with the bike, not working on it. Just sitting. Thinking, or I suppose, or not thinking. He said that was the point, to stop thinking for a while, to let his hands work while his mind went quiet. Jackson cleaned the spark plug holes with a wire brush. What did he do before the Air Force? Farm kid from Iowa, joined up at 18 to get away from the farm, to see the world, to be something other than what his father wanted him to be. She picked at a loose thread on her cardigan, flew missions in the Gulf War, came back different, quieter, started having nightmares, panic attacks, what they call PTSD now. She paused, watching Jackson work. The bike helped, the riding helped, this place helped, but some wounds don't heal. They just get easier to carry. Yeah, Jackson said, they do. They sat in comfortable silence. Jackson worked. Beatrice watched. The companionship felt natural. Easy. Like they'd known each other longer than a day. Eventually she said, "Tell me about Diane." Jackson paused, wrench in hand, memories flooding back. "What do you want to know? How you met?" Jackson smiled despite himself. Couldn't help it. Navy shipyard in San Diego, 1985. I was a welder 24 years old working on hull repairs. She was a helicopter pilot. 23 came in to inspect some work on her bird. She wore a flight suit 2 sizes too big and had grease on her cheek, and I fell in love right there. Just like that. Just like that. She was giving orders to men twice her age, and they were listening. She had this presence, this certainty, like she knew exactly who she was and didn't apologize for it. He set down the wrench. Took her 6 months to agree to go out with me. Another year before she'd marry me. But we had 33 years together, had a daughter, built a life. And then a drunk driver ran a red light and took her away in 2 seconds. 33 years erased in 2 seconds. Beatrice was quiet for a moment. Then, "Did you get to say goodbye?" "No, she died on impact. I got the call at the clubhouse. By the time I got to the hospital, she was already gone. Just gone. Like she'd never been there at all. I'm sorry." "Me too." Jackson picked up the wrench again, needed something to do with his hands. "I spent 6 years being angry. At the drunk driver. At God. At the world. At myself for not being there, even though there was nothing I could have done. For not somehow stopping it, even though that's impossible. You couldn't have stopped it." "I know. But knowing and accepting are different things." Beatrice nodded. "Douglas died right in front of me. We were closing up the diner, counting the till. He was laughing about something, some joke a customer told, and then he just stopped, grabbed his chest, fell. Her voice stayed steady, clinical, the voice of someone who'd told this story before. I held him, screamed for help, did CPR until the paramedics came, but he was already gone. Just like that, laughing 1 second, dead the next." She looked down at her trembling hands. "I blamed myself for months. Thought I should have seen the signs. Should have made him see a doctor. Should have done something different. Something that would have saved him. And now I know that death comes when it comes. We don't get to choose, we just get to choose how we live afterward. Whether we let it break us or whether we find a way to keep going." Jackson looked at her. Really looked. Saw the strength it took to keep going. To get up every morning. To run a diner alone. To fight Parkinson's. To ask a stranger for help. "You're stronger than you think," he said. "I have to be. Nobody else is going to do it for me." The parts arrived the next morning. Overnight shipping from Carson City. Gideon had packed everything carefully, included a note. "Fix it right, boss. Make it sing. And whatever you're doing out there, keep doing it. You sound like yourself again." Jackson got to work in earnest. Rebuilt the carburetor, disassembled it completely, cleaned every jet, every passage, every tiny orifice clogged with varnish, replaced gaskets and seals, put it back together with the patience of a surgeon, installed new spark plugs, gapped them perfectly with a feeler gauge, changed the oil thick and black as tar, it poured out like sins being confessed, replaced the fuel filter, the air filter, the battery. Beatrice checked on him throughout the day, brought water, coffee, food. Sometimes she'd stay and talk. Sometimes she'd just sit quietly watching him work, finding peace in the simple act of restoration. On the 3rd day, she said something that changed everything. "I knew Diane." Jackson's hand slipped. He caught himself before dropping the socket wrench, set it down carefully, turned to face her. "What? Diane Reeves, your wife. I knew her. We flew together." Beatrice's voice was soft, careful, like she was handling something fragile. 1985 to 1990. Different bases mostly, but we crossed paths. Became friends, good friends. Jackson's world tilted slightly. "What? She was a helicopter pilot, search and rescue. So was I. We flew together during Desert Storm. Different units, but same mission." Beatrice looked at him with those clear blue eyes. "She was a good pilot, better than me, braver. And she talked about you all the time. About the welder she'd fallen for. About the man who made her feel safe." Jackson sat down on the concrete floor. His legs wouldn't hold him. "Why didn't you say something when I told you her name, when I said she was a helicopter pilot?" "Because I wasn't sure at first. Diane Reeves isn't an uncommon name. But then you said San Diego, said 1985, said she was a helicopter pilot." She met his eyes. "And I knew. But I didn't say anything because I didn't know if you'd want to know. Didn't know if it would help or hurt. Sometimes the past is better left alone. No, Jackson said. His voice came out rough, raw. No, tell me. Tell me about her. The Diane you knew. The one I didn't get to see. Beatrice smiled, the first real smile he'd seen from her. Fierce, funny as hell, took no shit from anyone, especially not men who thought women couldn't fly, but gentle when it mattered. Kind to the people who needed kindness. She settled onto her bucket memories flooding back. We flew search and rescue together during Desert Storm. Night missions mostly, looking for downed pilots. She saved 3 lives I know of. Probably more I don't. She'd fly into situations that scared the hell out of me. Hot LZs, sandstorms, mechanical failures. And she'd just handle it. Like fear wasn't even an option. She never talked much about the war, Jackson said quietly. No, she wouldn't have. Too many bad memories. Too many people we couldn't save. Beatrice paused. We lost touch after we both got out. Different lives, different states. I married Douglas, moved to Nevada. Diane married you, moved to California. But I thought about her sometimes. Wondered how she was doing. If she was happy. She was happy. We were happy. I'm glad. Beatrice's eyes were wet. I'm glad she had that. Had you. Had 33 good years. They sat in silence. The weight of shared loss. The strange comfort of knowing someone else had loved the same person you did. Did Diane ever mention me? Jackson asked. After you knew each other, after she got married. Once, near the end of our time together, just before she left the service. She showed me a picture you in your welding gear covered in soot grinning like an idiot. She said she was marrying a welder named Jackson who rode motorcycles and had kind eyes. Beatrice's smile widened. She said you didn't know you had kind eyes. Said that was part of your charm. That you were strong but didn't know how strong. That you were good but didn't believe you were good. Jackson felt something crack in his chest. Not break, just crack, like ice at the beginning of spring. Thank you, he said, for telling me, for knowing her, for being her friend. Thank you for fixing Douglas's bike, for giving me a chance to ride it again, for helping me remember. On the 7th day, Jackson turned the key. The engine caught, coughed once, caught again, then roared to life. The sound filled the garage, pure, strong, a Harley's distinctive potato, potato, potato rhythm, the sound of resurrection. Jackson let it run. Adjusted the idle with a screwdriver, listened for any irregularities, any skips or misses. But there were none. The engine ran smooth, clean, like it had been running every day for the past 9 years, instead of sitting silent and forgotten. Beatrice appeared in the garage doorway. Her hand flew to her mouth, tears streaming down her face. Oh my God, she whispered. Oh my God, you did it. You actually did it. Jackson shut off the engine. The sudden silence was profound, sacred. Want to take it for a ride? He asked. I don't know if I can. My hands, the Parkinson's. I'll ride. You sit behind me, just like with Douglas, just like yesterday on my bike. Beatrice looked at the Harley, at the machine that had carried her and Douglas through years of Sundays, through deserts and mountains and the simple act of being together. Okay, she said. Yes, let's go. They rolled the Harley out into the sunlight. The paint still needed work, oxidized and dull. The chrome still pitted in places. But the engine purred. The heart beat strong. Jackson straddled the bike. Beatrice climbed on behind him, settled onto the seat she'd last sat on with her husband 9 years ago. Her arms wrapped around Jackson's waist, familiar and strange all at once. Ready? He asked. No. A pause. A breath. But go anyway. Jackson started the engine, felt Beatrice's grip tighten, felt her lean into him, trusting him with something precious. They pulled out of the gravel lot, onto the frontage road, then onto Highway 95. And they rode. Not fast, not far, just 10 miles out into the desert and back. But it was enough for Beatrice to feel the wind again, to feel the power of the machine beneath her, to remember what it was like when Douglas was alive and they had forever ahead of them and the desert was theirs. Enough for Jackson to feel useful again, to feel like he was honoring Diane's memory by helping Diane's friend, to feel like maybe he was becoming the man Diane had believed he could be. When they returned to the diner, Beatrice climbed off the bike slowly. Her eyes were wet, but she was smiling, really smiling. Thank you, she said. Thank you for giving me this, for giving me Douglas back, even if just for 10 miles. You're welcome. She looked at the Harley. then at Jackson. What do I owe you for the parts? For your time, for everything? Nothing, it's a gift. Jackson. From Diane, she would have wanted me to help you. So I did. That's payment enough. Beatrice wiped her eyes. Then I have something for you. Wait here. She disappeared into the diner, came back holding a framed photograph. This is from 1988, Saudi Arabia, after a mission. Jackson took the photo. Two women in flight suits, arms around each other's shoulders, grinning at the camera, despite the desert heat and the exhaustion and the weight of what they'd seen. Diane looked young, happy, alive, whole. I can't take this, he said. You can, I have others, and I think you need it more than I do. Beatrice squeezed his arm. Keep it. Remember that she was more than just your wife. She was a pilot, a friend, a woman who lived fully and loved fiercely, who saved lives and took risks and refused to be less than she was. Jackson stared at the photo, at Diane's smile, at proof that she'd had a life before him. Friends, adventures, joy that had nothing to do with him and everything to do with who she was. Thank you, he managed, his voice thick. Keep it. Remember her. And remember that you're more than just a man who lost his wife. You're someone who helps people, who fixes broken things, who keeps promises even when it's hard. Jackson nodded, couldn't speak. The crack in his chest widened a little more. That evening, as the sun set over the desert, Jackson sat on the front steps of the diner. The photograph sat beside him. His phone was in his hand. He dialed Natalie. She answered on the second ring. Dad, you done with your project? Yeah, just finished today. How did it go? Good, really good, better than I expected. He paused. Listen, sweetheart, I was thinking, maybe I could come up to Portland, visit you, if that's okay, if you'd want that. Silence. Long enough that Jackson thought she'd hung up. Then, really, I've been a shitty father for too long. I want to fix that. If you'll let me, if it's not too late. He heard Natalie's breath catch, heard her crying softly. It's not too late, Dad. It's never too late. Good. I'll call you next week. Set something up. Maybe stay for a few days. Let you show me your life, your hospital, your world. I'd like that. I'd really like that. She paused. Dad, yeah. I'm proud of you. Whatever you did there, whatever changed, I'm proud of you. Mom would be too. Thanks, sweetheart. That means everything. After they hung up, Jackson sat watching the sunset. Beatrice came out, sat beside him with her own cup of coffee. You leaving tomorrow? She asked. Was planning to. The bike runs. That's what I came to do. You're welcome back anytime. The room's always here if you need it. I appreciate that. They sat in comfortable silence as the sky turned from gold to amber to deep purple. Stars beginning to emerge like promises being kept. Finally, Beatrice said, Can I ask you something? Sure. That first day, when you stopped to help me, you said you did it because someone you loved would want you to. Did you mean Diane? Yeah. What would she think about all this? About you fixing Douglas's bike? About you staying here to help a stranger? Jackson thought about it. Really thought. Looked at the photograph of Diane grinning in her flight suit. I think she'd be happy. I think she'd say it was about damn time I stopped running and started helping. Started being the man she married instead of the man I became after she died. Beatrice nodded. Douglas would say the same thing. He'd say you did good work, on the bike and on yourself. That both needed fixing and both got fixed. I'm not fixed, Jackson said. I'm still broken in a lot of ways. We're all broken. That's not the point. The point is whether we're trying to heal, whether we're trying to be better than we were yesterday. And you think I am, Beatrice smiled. I think you rode 90 miles to help a stranger get her medication. I think you spent a week fixing a dead man's motorcycle for nothing but a thank you and a photograph. Yeah, Jackson, I think you're trying, and that's more than most people ever do. The stars came out, one by one, until the sky was full of them, until the desert was washed in starlight. Jackson looked at the photograph of Diane, at her smile, at proof of a life fully lived, at evidence that love could survive even death if you carried it right. I'm going to try harder, he said quietly. Going to visit my daughter. Going to be present. Going to stop running from everything that matters. Good. Diane would like that, and so would Douglas. They sat until the desert cold drove them inside, until Beatrice had to close up for the night, until there was nothing left but the promise of tomorrow. Jackson climbed the stairs to his room one last time, packed his bag, set the photograph carefully on top, wrapped in a clean t-shirt for protection. Tomorrow, he'd ride back to Carson City, back to his life. But he'd be different, changed, like a machine torn down and rebuilt. Not perfect, but running smooth, running true. He lay in bed and thought about Beatrice's words, about regret being loved with nowhere to go, about being more than just a man who lost his wife, about being someone who helps, who fixes things, who keeps promises. Outside, the wind whispered across the desert. Inside, Jackson finally felt something like peace, like redemption, like hope. He closed his eyes, and for the 8th night in a row, he slept without nightmares. Tomorrow would bring new roads, new choices, new chances to be someone worth being. But tonight, in a small room above a dying diner in the middle of nowhere, Jackson Reeves slept the sleep of someone who'd finally found his way back to himself. And that was enough. That was more than enough. Jackson woke on the 8th day to find Beatrice already in the garage. She stood beside Douglas's Harley, one hand resting on the handlebar. The morning sun slanted through the open door, painting everything in shades of gold and amber. She didn't hear him approach, just stood there lost in memory or prayer or something in between. "Morning," Jackson said softly. She turned. Her eyes were red, not from crying exactly, from something deeper. "I was just thinking," she said, "about how strange it is, how you show up out of nowhere, fix this bike, and now you're leaving. That was the plan. Plans change." She looked at him directly. "Stay longer. A week, 2 weeks, however long you want." Jackson had packed his bag the night before, had every intention of riding out after breakfast, getting back to Carson City, back to the clubhouse, back to his normal life. But standing here in the morning light, looking at Beatrice beside the restored Harley, he found himself reconsidering. "Why?" he asked. "Because that bike runs now, but it's not finished. The paint's oxidized, the chrome's pitted, the leather's cracked. It runs, but it doesn't shine. Not like it used to." She paused. "And maybe I'm not ready to say goodbye yet. To you, to this, to whatever this is." Jackson thought about Diane, about promises kept and broken, about the photograph upstairs in his bag. "Okay," he said, "I'll stay, but I pay rent and I work. Won't just sit around." "Deal. You can help Iris in the diner during rush hours and work on the bike the rest of the time." They shook on it again, a ritual becoming familiar. The first full week passed in a rhythm that felt almost normal. Jackson worked the morning shift at the diner, pouring coffee, bussing tables, learning the regulars' names and orders. Earl took his eggs scrambled, no salt. Betty wanted her hash browns burned crispy. Tom liked his coffee strong enough to dissolve a spoon. Afternoons belonged to the Harley. Jackson started with the paint. Wet sanded the tank by hand, working through progressively finer grits until the black was smooth as glass. Beatrice sat on her overturned bucket, watching. "Douglas did this same thing," she said. "Every spring, said the bike deserved to look as good as it ran." He was right. He usually was, about the small things anyway. She picked at the frayed cuff of her cardigan, the big things he struggled with. The PTSD, the nightmares, the anger that came out of nowhere and disappeared just as fast. Jackson applied cutting compound to the tank, working it in small circles. Diane had nightmares too. After Desert Storm, she'd wake up screaming. Took years before they got less frequent. Did they ever stop? No, just became part of who she was, part of us. He buffed the compound away, revealing paint that gleamed like new. You learn to live with ghosts. Or they learn to live with you. On the 9th day, a black SUV pulled into the parking lot. New, expensive, wrong for a place like Dusty Ridge. Jackson was under the Harley, draining the transmission fluid when he heard footsteps on gravel. Expensive shoes, dress shoes. "Excuse me." The voice was smooth, educated, authority wrapped in politeness. Jackson rolled out from under the bike, looked up at a man in his early 50s, tall, fit, with silver hair and a smile that didn't reach his eyes. He wore khakis and a polo shirt, a sheriff's badge on his belt. "Can I help you?" Jackson asked. "I'm Warren Blackwell, sheriff here in Dusty Ridge." He extended his hand. Jackson stood, wiped his greasy palm on a rag, shook. Warren's grip was firm, competitive. "Jackson Reeves." "I know who you are, Mr. Reeves. Word travels fast in a small town. You're the biker who helped Beatrice. Who's been staying here, working on Douglas's old bike?" Warren's eyes drifted to the Harley. Something flickered in his expression. "That bike shouldn't be running." "Why not?" Because it reminds Beatrice of things better left in the past. Douglas is dead, has been for 9 years. She needs to move on, not relive old memories. Jackson picked up a wrench, turned it slowly in his hands. That Beatrice's opinion or yours? Warren's smile tightened. I've known Beatrice for 15 years. I was friends with Douglas. I know what's best for her. Do you? It wasn't a question. Warren stepped closer, lowered his voice. I know who you are, Mr. Reeves. Chapter president, Hell's Angels, Carson City. I ran your name through the system. You've got a record. Assault, conspiracy. You did time. 20 years ago, I paid my debt. A debt's never fully paid. Duh. Not for men like you. Warren glanced toward the diner. Beatrice was visible through the window serving the lunch crowd. She doesn't need your kind of trouble. Jackson set down the wrench, stood to his full height. He had 2 inches on Warren. Use them. My kind of trouble. Jackson's voice was quiet. Dangerous. What kind is that? The kind that shows up out of nowhere, plays the hero, gets people to trust you, then takes advantage. I'm fixing a motorcycle. You're taking advantage of a lonely old woman. The accusation hung in the air like smoke. Jackson took a breath, let it out slow. I think you should leave now. This is my town, and this is private property. So leave. Warren held his ground for another moment, then smiled, that same smile that didn't touch his eyes. I'll be watching you, Mr. Reeves, closely. One wrong move and you're gone. Understand? Perfectly. Warren walked back to his SUV, drove away. But Jackson felt the weight of his stare long after the vehicle disappeared. Beatrice came out as Jackson was washing his hands at the outdoor sink. What did Warren want? To warn me off, said I shouldn't be fixing the bike, said it's bad for you. Beatrice's jaw tightened. Warren's been trying to get me to sell this place for 2 years. Says it's too much for me to handle alone. That I should retire, move into one of those assisted living places. What do you say? I say this is my home. Douglas and I built this together. I'll die here before I let someone take it from me. Jackson dried his hands. Warren a problem? He can be. He's got power in this town. People listen to him, respect him. She paused. But he doesn't scare me. I've faced worse than small-town sheriffs. Want me to back off if he's watching? I don't want to make trouble for you. Beatrice looked at the Harley, at the gleaming paint, at proof that dead things could be brought back to life. No, she said. Keep working. Warren doesn't get to tell me how to grieve or when to let go. That night, Jackson called Gideon. Boss, when are you coming back? The brothers are asking. I don't know. Another week, maybe? Maybe longer. Silence. Then, what's going on out there? I'm helping someone. You said that already, but this is different. You sound different. Jackson looked out the window of his room, saw the Harley in the garage, saw the diner's lights glowing warm against the desert dark. I found something here, he said. Purpose maybe, or peace, I'm not sure which. Because of the bike. Because of everything. The bike, Beatrice, this place. It feels like I'm supposed to be here. Like Diane led me here for a reason. You believe in that signs and fate and all that. I didn't, but maybe I'm starting to. Gideon was quiet for a moment. Tommy's been asking about you. Says the club needs you back. Says there's business that needs handling. What kind of business? The kind that can wait. Or not. Your call, boss. Jackson thought about Carson City, about the clubhouse, about the life he'd built there over 20 years. It felt distant now, like something that happened to someone else. Tell Tommy I'll be back when I'm done here, however long that takes. Will do, and boss, whatever you're doing out there, keep doing it. You sound better than you have in years. After they hung up, Jackson sat in the dark room and thought about what Gideon had said, about sounding better, about finding purpose. Maybe it was true. Maybe this place, this broken-down diner in the middle of nowhere, was exactly where he needed to be. On the 11th day, Jackson started on the chrome. The pipes were the worst, spotted with rust pitted from years of exposure. He spent hours with steel wool and chrome polish working each section until his arms ached. Beatrice brought him lunch, sat down beside him. Can I tell you something? She asked. Sure. I wasn't completely honest with you about knowing Diane. Jackson stopped polishing, looked at her. What do you mean? Beatrice took a breath. I didn't just know Diane during the war. I knew her after too. We stayed in touch, not often, maybe once or twice a year, but we wrote letters, talked on the phone. She paused. The last time I spoke to her was 3 weeks before she died. Jackson's chest tightened. What did she say? She said she was worried about you, that you'd been distant, working too much, spending too much time at the club. She said she was afraid that when she died, and she knew she was going to die someday, you'd lose yourself. She was right. She also said that underneath all the leather and tattoos and toughness, you were the kindest man she'd ever known, that you just didn't know how to show it. Jackson's hands stilled on the chrome. Why didn't you tell me this before? Because I wasn't sure you were ready to hear it. Wasn't sure you'd believe me. Beatrice looked at the Harley. But watching you work on this bike, watching you help me, watching you change these past 2 weeks, and I think you're ready now. Ready for what? To hear that Diane forgave you for not being there when she died, for the distance before, for all of it. She told me that if I ever met you and she had a feeling I would someday, I should tell you that. Jackson set down the steel wool, his vision blurred. She said that, word for word, 3 weeks before the accident, like she knew. Beatrice's voice was gentle. So I'm telling you now, Diane forgave you, she loved you, and she wanted you to be happy. Jackson couldn't speak, could only nod. They sat in silence while the desert sun climbed higher and the chrome gleamed brighter and something broken began to heal. The 12th day brought rain, rare for the desert, but it came down hard, turning the dirt lot to mud, drumming on the garage roof like 1,000 fingers. Jackson worked inside, detailing the engine. Beatrice sat nearby reading a book. The companionable silence had become natural between them. Tell me about Douglas, Jackson said. How did you meet? Beatrice marked her place in the book, smiled at the memory. 1992. He'd just left the Air Force. I was still flying search and rescue. We met at a veterans event in Reno. He was sitting alone at the bar drinking whiskey, looking like he wanted to be anywhere else. She laughed. I walked up and said, "That bad, huh?" He looked at me and said, "I just flew killing machines for 10 years. Now I'm supposed to make small talk about the weather. So yeah, that bad." Sounds charming. He was, in his way, blunt, honest, tired of pretending. Beatrice's expression softened. We talked for 4 hours, about the war, about what we'd seen, about how hard it was to come home and act normal. He understood things I'd never been able to explain to anyone else. When did you know you loved him? 3 months later. We were riding this motorcycle out in the desert, middle of nowhere. He stopped on a ridge overlooking a valley, turned off the engine, and we just sat there in perfect silence. And I thought, this is peace. This man is peace. And I knew. Jackson cleaned carbon buildup from the cylinders. How long were you married? 23 years. Not enough. Never enough. She paused. But good years. Hard sometimes. Douglas had demons. The war followed him home. But we learned to live with them together. Did he ever talk about it, the war? Sometimes. Late at night when the nightmares came, he'd talk about missions gone wrong, about people he couldn't save, about decisions made in seconds that haunted him for decades. Beatrice closed her book. He said the hardest part wasn't the killing. It was coming home and seeing people go about their lives like none of it mattered. Like the things he'd done and seen were just news stories, background noise. Jackson understood that, had felt it himself in different ways. Is that why he bought the diner? Partly, he wanted something real, something that helped people in simple, honest ways. Food, coffee, a place to rest. He said after spending years dealing in death, he wanted to deal in life. The rain pounded harder. Thunder rolled across the desert. Do you miss him? Jackson asked. Every day, every single day. Beatrice looked at her hands, at the tremor that never fully went away. But I'm grateful too, for the time we had, for the love, for this place, for memories that hurt and heal at the same time. Diane used to say something similar. She said pain was just love that had nowhere to go. She was right. Douglas said the same thing. Maybe that's what we're doing here with this bike, giving the love somewhere to go. Jackson thought about that, about the hours spent polishing and cleaning and rebuilding, about pouring care into something that couldn't care back, about how it helped anyway. Yeah, he said, maybe that's exactly what we're doing. On the 14th day, Warren Blackwell returned. Jackson was buffing the gas tank when the SUV pulled up. Warren stepped out along with another man, younger, late 30s, wearing a deputy's uniform. Mr. Reeves, Warren said, this is Deputy Mills. We need to talk. Jackson set down the buffing cloth. There's been some concern from the community about a known criminal staying in town, working at a business frequented by families. I'm fixing a motorcycle, not running a drug ring. Still, people are worried. As sheriff, I have a responsibility to address those concerns. Beatrice emerged from the diner. Her face was steel. Warren Blackwell, what the hell are you doing? Just checking on things, Beatrice. Making sure everything's on the up and up. Jackson is my guest. He's helping me. And unless he's broken a law, you have no business harassing him. Warren's expression remained pleasant, but his eyes were cold. Actually, I do have some questions. Mr. Reeves, do you have a Nevada driver's license, California? And you've been here 2 weeks, driving a vehicle with California plates. Nevada law requires you to register your vehicle within 30 days of establishing residency. I'm not a resident, I'm visiting. 2 weeks is a long visit. Some might say you've established residency. Warren pulled out a notepad. That's a $500 fine, plus impound fees for the vehicle. You're not impounding his bike, Beatrice said. I'm enforcing the law. You're abusing your power, Warren turned to her. The pleasant mask slipped, just for a moment. Jackson saw something underneath, something ugly. Beatrice, I've been patient with you, but this needs to end. Sell the diner, take the very generous offer I've arranged. Move on with your life. The diner's not for sale. Everything's for sale. Warren glanced at the Harley. Even memories, especially memories. Jackson stepped between them. I think you should leave now. Or what? You'll assault an officer, add to your record. Or I'll file a harassment complaint against you on behalf of Beatrice. Warren laughed. With who? I'm the law here. With the state police, the attorney general, the FBI if I have to. Jackson's voice was level, calm, but underneath was iron. I've got friends too, Sheriff. Friends who know how to make phone calls, how to ask uncomfortable questions, how to dig into small-town sheriffs who abuse their authority. Warren's smile vanished. Is that a threat? It's a promise. Leave Beatrice alone. Leave me alone. Or find out what happens when you push people who push back. For a long moment, nobody moved. The desert wind blew hot and dry. Dust devils spun in the parking lot. Finally, Warren said, this isn't over. Yeah, Jackson said, it is. Warren and his deputy got back in the SUV, drove away. Beatrice was shaking. Jackson guided her to a chair. He's going to make trouble, she said. Real trouble. Let him try. I meant what I said. I know people. What kind of people? The kind who don't like corrupt small-town sheriffs. Beatrice looked up at him. You do that to risk trouble with the law for me. Yes. What her? Jackson thought about Diane, about promises, about the photograph upstairs. Because you were Diane's friend, because you're my friend, and because Warren's a bully who needs to be stopped. That evening, Jackson made calls. First to Gideon. I need information on a Sheriff Warren Blackwell, Dusty Ridge, Nevada. Everything you can find. What kind of everything? Financial records, property holdings, any complaints filed against him, anything that doesn't smell right. That's not exactly legal, boss. I'm not asking you to break laws. I'm asking you to look at public records and maybe talk to people who know how to look deeper. This about the woman you're helping. Yeah, sheriff's trying to force her to sell her property. Threatening me to get to her. I want to know why. I'll see what I can do. Second call went to Natalie. Dad, is everything okay? I need a favor, sweetheart. You still have that friend who works for the FBI, the one who investigated medical fraud. Sarah, yeah, why? I need to talk to her, off the record, about a corrupt sheriff. Silence. Then, Dad, what are you into, Ben? Nothing illegal. I'm helping someone, but there's a local sheriff abusing his power. I need to know my options. Let me call Sarah, see if she'll talk to you. But Dad, be careful. Corrupt sheriffs are dangerous. I know, I will be. Third call was harder. Jackson dialed a number he hadn't used in 8 years. A woman answered. Law offices of Morrison and Chen. I need to speak with Natalie Morrison. May I ask who's calling? Her father? A pause, then 1 moment, please. Another voice came on. Younger, professional, cold. This is Natalie. Sweetheart, We already talked today, Dad. Why are you calling the office? I need legal advice about property rights, about a sheriff trying to force someone to sell. Jackson heard papers shuffling, a door closing. What's going on? Natalie's voice softened. Talk to me. Jackson explained. About Beatrice, about Warren, about the harassment. When he finished, Natalie was quiet for a long moment. Dad, this sounds like a land grab. Sheriff's probably got someone who wants the property, someone paying him to make it happen. Can you help? I can look into it, but I'm in Portland. Nevada's out of my jurisdiction. I just need to know the law. What Beatrice's rights are. What Warren can and can't do. Okay, give me 24 hours. I'll research and call you back. Thank you, sweetheart. Dad, whatever you're doing there, whatever's changed in you, just keep doing it. You sound like the man Mom used to tell me about, the man I remember from before. Jackson's throat tightened. I'm trying. I know, and I'm proud of you. After the calls, Jackson sat on the diner's front steps, watched the sun set, thought about the tangled web he'd stepped into. Beatrice came out with 2 cups of coffee, sat beside him. You didn't have to do all that, she said. Yes, I did. What, you've already done so much? Jackson sipped his coffee. Because Warren's not just threatening you, he's threatening something bigger, this place, what it represents. The idea that people can build something good and keep it. It's just a diner. No, it's not. It's a home, a legacy. A promise kept to a man who deserved better than to have his memory erased. Beatrice was quiet. Then, Douglas would have liked you. Think so? I know so. He respected men who kept their promises, who stood up for what was right even when it was hard. She smiled. He'd probably say you were too soft, that you should have punched Warren, but he'd respect you anyway. They sat in comfortable silence as stars emerged. Finally, Beatrice said, what happens next? We wait, see what my people find, see what Natalie says about your legal rights, and we get ready. For what? For whatever Warren does next, because men like him don't back down. They escalate. You sound like you know. I do. I've met men like Warren before, in the club, in prison, on the street. They're all the same. They think power makes them untouchable. Think fear makes them strong. And what makes them weak? Jackson smiled. It wasn't a kind smile. The truth, light in dark places. People who aren't afraid to fight back. And you're not afraid. Not anymore. Not of him. Beatrice reached over, squeezed his hand. Thank you, Jackson, for everything. Don't thank me yet. This might get uglier before it gets better. I know, but I'm glad I don't have to face it alone. You won't, I promise. They sat until the desert cold drove them inside, until the diner closed and the highway emptied, and the only sound was the wind across the sand. Jackson climbed the stairs to his room, lay in bed staring at the ceiling, thinking about Warren, about corruption and greed, about the way power twisted people, but also thinking about Beatrice, about Diane, about the Harley sitting in the garage restored and gleaming, about broken things made whole, about promises kept, about standing ground when standing would have been easier to run. He closed his eyes, and for the first time since arriving in Dusty Ridge, he dreamed not of the past, but of the future, of confrontation, of justice, of whatever came next. The next morning, Jackson woke to pounding on his door. Jackson, get down here, Beatrice's voice. Panicked. He threw on clothes, ran downstairs. The garage door hung open. Inside, the Harley lay on its side. The carefully polished chrome was scratched. The tank was dented. The mirrors were shattered. Someone had taken a sledgehammer to Douglas's bike. Beatrice stood frozen, her hand over her mouth, her whole body shaking. Jackson walked to the bike slowly, crouched beside it, ran his fingers over the damage. Weeks of work destroyed in minutes. Warren, Beatrice whispered. It had to be Warren. Jackson didn't respond, just examined the bike with a mechanic's eye. The frame was intact, the engine untouched, the damage was cosmetic. Meant to hurt, not destroy. A message. He stood, looked at Beatrice. Call the sheriff's office, report vandalism. Warren is the sheriff. I know, call anyway, put it on record. And what good will that do? It builds a case, shows a pattern. Trust me. While Beatrice made the call, Jackson photographed everything. Every scratch, every dent, every piece of shattered glass. His phone rang. Gideon. Boss, I got something on your sheriff. Talk to me. Warren Blackwell, sheriff for 18 years. But here's the interesting part. He owns property. A lot of property. Commercial lots along the new highway bypass. Worth millions if they develop. And Beatrice's diner sits right where the bypass needs to expand. If she sold, Warren's properties would triple in value. Son of a bitch. There's more. 3 other property owners in that area died in the past 2 years. All ruled accidental. All their properties sold to development companies connected to Warren. Jackson's blood ran cold. He's killing people. Can't prove it, but the pattern's there. And boss, be careful. If Warren figures out you're digging, you're next on the list. Let him try. Jackson hung up. Beatrice was standing in the doorway, phone in hand. Warren's sending a deputy to take the report. Said he's too busy to come himself. Of course he is. Jackson looked at the damaged bike. At weeks of work undone. Beatrice, I need to tell you something about Warren, about why he wants this property. He explained what Gideon had found, about the bypass, the property values, the suspicious deaths. Beatrice listened. Her face went pale. Douglas's brother, she whispered. What? Warren, he's Douglas's younger brother. They had the same last name before Warren changed his. Warren Holloway became Warren Blackwell after he went to prison. Jackson's mind raced. Warren's related to Douglas. Half-brothers, same father, different mothers. Douglas never talked about him, said Warren was trouble, said he'd burned every bridge. I only met Warren once before Douglas died, at their father's funeral. They barely spoke. And then after Douglas died, Warren showed up, said he wanted to help, to make amends. He became sheriff 2 years later. Started being friendly, helpful. I thought he'd change. Beatrice's voice broke. But he was just waiting for the right time to take what Douglas built. Jackson pulled her into a hug, felt her cry against his chest, felt her years of grief and fear and loneliness pour out. He's not taking anything, Jackson said. I promise you, he's not taking this place. How can you stop him? He's the law. He's killed people. Because I'm not alone. And neither are you. His phone rang again. Natalie. Dad, I found something. Nevada property law says, hold that thought. Jackson pulled back from Beatrice. Is there somewhere private we can talk conference call with my daughter? She's a lawyer. Beatrice wiped her eyes. Office, come on. They huddled in the small office. Jackson put Natalie on speaker. Okay, I'm listening, he said. Nevada property law protects property owners from coerced sales. If Beatrice can prove Warren's harassing her to force a sale, she can file a restraining order and a civil suit. But more importantly, and this is key, if Warren's abusing his office for personal gain, that's a federal crime. Public corruption. The FBI handles that. I called your friend Sarah, Jackson said. The FBI agent. I know, she called me. She's interested, very interested, but she needs evidence, not just suspicion, real evidence. Beatrice spoke up. What kind of evidence? Recordings, documents, witness statements, anything that shows Warren using his position to benefit financially, to threaten you, to harm you. The bike, Jackson said. The vandalism. If we can prove Warren did it. Not enough on its own, but combined with other evidence, it helps build a pattern. What about the other property owners, the ones who died? Natalie's voice turned serious. If you're suggesting murder, Dad, that's beyond my expertise. But if the FBI investigates and finds evidence linking Warren to those deaths, he's looking at life in prison. Beatrice and Jackson locked eyes. Tell Sarah we'll cooperate, Jackson said. Fully, whatever she needs. I will, but Dad, be careful. If Warren suspects you're building a case, he'll come after you, hard. He already has. He destroyed the motorcycle I've been restoring. Then it's already started. Watch your back. And Beatrice, document everything. Every interaction with Warren, every threat, every irregularity, it all matters. After they hung up, Beatrice and Jackson sat in silence. Finally, Beatrice said, I'm scared. Me too. But you're still going to fight. Yes. Why, you could leave, go back to Carson City, forget all this. Jackson thought about that, about the easy road, about running. Because Diane wouldn't forgive me if I did. Because you're her friend. Because this is right. He paused. And because Douglas deserves better than to have his legacy destroyed by his own brother. Beatrice nodded slowly. Okay, then we fight. Together. Together. They shook hands, sealing the bargain, making the promise. Outside, the desert wind blew hot and hard. Inside, two broken people stood against the storm, preparing for battle, ready for whatever came next. And in the garage, the damaged Harley waited, bent but not broken, just like them. The deputy arrived an hour later, young kid, maybe 25, with nervous eyes and a notebook he didn't seem to know how to use. His name tag read Mills. Jackson watched from the diner window as Mills photographed the damaged Harley, watched him write things down, watched him glance toward the road every few minutes like he was expecting someone. Beatrice stood beside Jackson, arms crossed. He's scared, she said. Of what? Of Warren, of doing his job. She shook her head. That's what happens when corruption runs deep. Good people get scared. Stop speaking up. Stop doing what's right. Mills came inside 20 minutes later. His uniform was too crisp, too new. Everything about him screamed rookie. Ms. Holloway, I've documented the damage, filed the report. We'll investigate. Will you, Beatrice's voice was flat. Mills shifted his way at, ma'am, will you actually investigate, or will this report disappear into a drawer somewhere? The deputy's face colored. I do my job, ma'am. Do you? Because Warren Blackwell has been harassing me for 2 years, pressuring me to sell, and now my property's been vandalized. You really think that's a coincidence? I can't speculate about the sheriff. Then don't speculate, investigate. Beatrice stepped closer. Mills backed up. I was a pilot. I flew combat missions. I've seen what happens when good people stay silent. So don't stand there and tell me you're doing your job when we both know you're not. Mills looked at Jackson, looking for what backup permission to leave. Jackson said nothing, just stared. Finally, Mills mumbled something about being in touch and practically ran to his cruiser. That went well, Jackson said. Beatrice didn't smile. He's Warren's creature. That report will never see the light of day. Maybe, but we documented it. That's what matters. Jackson spent the rest of the morning at assessing the damage to the Harley. The tank had 3 major dents. The chrome pipes were gouged deep, both mirrors shattered, the seat slashed, cosmetic mostly, but expensive to fix, and worse, personal. Someone had taken a sledgehammer to weeks of careful work, to something beautiful, to something that mattered. Jackson photographed everything from multiple angles, sent them to Gideon with a message, evidence, keep these safe. Then he started making calls, first to a body shop in Boulder City. They could pull the dents, repaint the tank. $300 in 2 weeks. Second, to a chrome specialist in Las Vegas. New pipes would cost $400, plus shipping. Third, to a Harley dealer in Carson City. Mirrors, seat, miscellaneous parts. Another $300, $1,000 minimum. And that was with Jackson doing the labor himself. He was calculating costs when his phone rang. Unknown number. This is Jackson. Mr. Reeves. A woman's voice. Professional. Clipped. This is Special Agent Sarah Chen, FBI. Natalie Morrison gave me your number. Jackson stepped outside, away from the diner. Thanks for calling. Natalie says you have information about public corruption. Sheriff Warren Blackwell. I do. I'm listening. Jackson laid it out. Everything. Warren's pressure on Beatrice, the suspicious deaths, the property scheme, the vandalism. He spoke for 15 minutes without interruption. When he finished, Agent Chen was quiet for a moment. That's a serious accusation, Mr. Reeves. Do you have evidence? Some photos of the vandalism, testimony from Beatrice about the harassment, public records showing Warren's property holdings. Public records aren't evidence of corruption. They're just records. But the pattern isn't proof. I need something concrete, recordings of threats, documents showing quid pro quo, witness testimony from someone involved in the scheme. Jackson's frustration mounted. So what are you saying? You can't help? I'm saying I need more before I can open an investigation. The FBI doesn't move on suspicion. We move on evidence. She paused. But I'll tell you what I can do. I'll make some calls. Talk to the Nevada State Police. See if there have been any complaints about Warren. Any red flags. And if there are, then maybe we have enough for a preliminary inquiry, which could lead to a full investigation, which could lead to charges. Another pause. But Mr. Reeves, be careful. If Warren gets wind that someone's asking questions, he'll cover his tracks. Or worse. Worse how? You seem like a smart man. Use your imagination. She hung up. Jackson stood in the desert heat, phone in hand, feeling the weight of what he'd started. Agent Chen was right. Warren would come after them if he knew, would escalate. The question was how far Warren would go. That evening, Jackson found Beatrice in Douglas's old garage. She sat on the overturned bucket, staring at the damaged Harley. I keep thinking about the day Douglas died, she said without looking up. We were closing the diner. He was laughing about something, some joke a customer told, and then he just stopped, grabbed his chest, fell. Her voice was steady, clinical. I did CPR, screamed for help, begged him to stay, but he was already gone. Just like that, laughing 1 second, dead the next. Jackson sat on the concrete floor beside her. Warren was at the funeral, Beatrice continued. Stood in the back, didn't cry, didn't speak, just watched. At the time, I thought he was grieving in his own way. Now I wonder if he was planning, calculating, waiting for his chance. You couldn't have known. Couldn't I? Douglas told me Warren was dangerous, told me to stay away from him, but I thought he was exaggerating, thought brothers should reconcile. So I let Warren back into my life. She finally looked at Jackson. I practically invited a snake into my home. This isn't your fault, isn't it? I ignored the warnings, trusted when I should have been cautious. And now, she gestured at the Harley, now he's destroying the last pieces of Douglas I have left. Jackson stood, walked to the bike, ran his hand over the dented tank. He didn't destroy it, Jackson said. He damaged it. There's a difference. Damage can be fixed. With what money? I'm barely keeping the diner afloat. With my money, I'm paying for the repairs. Jackson, no. You've already done too much. I'm paying. His voice was firm, final. This bike is going to be perfect again, better than before. And when it is, we're going to ride at it, you and me, right past Warren's office. Let him see that he didn't break us. Beatrice's eyes filled. Why are you doing this? Really, Jackson thought about Diane, about the promise he'd made, about the photograph upstairs, about everything that had led him to this moment. Because Diane loved you, because you deserve better, because Douglas deserves better. He paused. And because I need to know I can still be the man Diane believed I was. The man who keeps promises, who fights for what's right, who doesn't run when things get hard. Beatrice stood, hugged him. Jackson held her while she cried. For Douglas, for the life she'd lost, for the fear she'd been carrying alone. Thank you, she whispered, for seeing me, for helping, for staying. You're welcome. They stood in the garage as the sun set. Two people bound by loss and memory and the determination to not let darkness win. The next 3 days were quiet, too quiet. Warren didn't come back. No more vandalism, no more threats, just silence. Jackson didn't trust it. He arranged for the Harley to be transported to Boulder City for the bodywork. Paid in cash, asked the shop to call him before they did anything, before they talked to anyone. You think someone might try to sabotage the repair? The shop owner asked. Well, just being careful. The owner, a grizzled man named Pete with oil under his fingernails, studied Jackson. You in some kind of trouble? Maybe. The bike means something to you, to someone I care about. Pete nodded. I'll take good care of it. Personal guarantee. And I won't talk to nobody about it. Not even if a sheriff comes asking. Appreciate that. While the Harley was gone, Jackson worked the diner. Morning shifts, afternoon shifts, whatever Beatrice needed. He learned the rhythms of the place. Learned which customers liked conversation and which wanted to be left alone. Learned that Betty's son was in the army overseas. That Earl had lost his wife to cancer. That Tom drank his coffee strong because he worked nights at the truck stop. He learned that Holloway's Rest wasn't just a diner, it was a gathering place, a touchstone, the heart of a dying town. On the fourth day, Gideon called. Boss, I got more on Warren. You're not going to like it. Tell me. One of the property owners who died, Ruth Sanderson, she filed a complaint with the state police 3 weeks before she died. Said Warren was threatening her, harassing her, trying to force her to sell. What happened to the complaint? Nothing. It was forwarded to Warren's office for investigation. Let me guess. He investigated himself and found no wrongdoing. Exactly. And 3 weeks later, Ruth died in a car accident. Single vehicle, ran off the road into a ravine. They ruled it accidental. Jackson's jaw tightened. He killed her. Can't prove it, but yeah, probably. What about the other two? Harold Chen, house fire, electrical fault, and Marcus Webb. Fell down his own stairs, broke his neck. All accidental, all convenient. Jackson was quiet for a moment. Gideon, I need you to do something for me. Send all of this to Agent Sarah Chen at the FBI. Everything you found, let her see the pattern. Already did, boss. Soon as Natalie gave me her number. What did she say? Said it's compelling but still circumstantial. Said she needs something concrete. Gideon paused. Boss, maybe you should come home. Let the feds handle this. Can't do that. Why not? You've done your part. You helped the woman, fixed her bike, put the feds on Warren's trail. What else is there? Jackson looked out the diner window, saw Beatrice serving coffee to Betty, saw her smile, saw her living despite everything trying to kill her spirit. I can't leave her alone with this. If Warren figures out we're building a case, he'll come after her. I need to be here. And if he comes after you, then he comes after me. Boss, I know what I'm doing, Gideon. Trust me. I do trust you. That's why I'm worried. After they hung up, Jackson sat with the weight of it. 3 people dead, maybe more. All because they wouldn't sell. All because Warren wanted money and power and didn't care who he had to kill to get it. And now Beatrice was in his crosshairs. Jackson pulled out his phone, called Natalie. Dad, everything okay? I need you to do something for me. Come to Dusty Ridge. Meet Beatrice. See this place. Why? Because if something happens to me, I need someone to make sure she's protected. To see this through. Silence. Then, Dad, you're scaring me. What's going on? Nothing yet, but Warren's killed before, and I'm making a lot of noise. If he decides to shut me up, then come home, please. Let the FBI handle it. I can't. Why not? Jackson thought about how to explain it, about promises and redemption and the need to be someone worthy of Diane's love. Because this is where I need to be. This is what I need to do. And I need to know that if things go wrong, someone will take care of Beatrice. Natalie was quiet for a long time. When do you want me there? This weekend, if you can? I'll rearrange my schedule. Dad, please be careful. I will. I love you, sweetheart. Love you too. On the 5th day, Pete called from the body shop. Your Harley's ready. Looks beautiful. Better than the photos you showed me. I'll come get it tomorrow. Actually, I was thinking I could deliver it. Save you the trip. I've got a trailer. Could have it there by noon. Jackson hesitated. Why would you do that? Pete's voice dropped. Because a man came by yesterday, asked about the bike, wanted to know who owned it, who was paying for the work. I didn't tell him nothing, but he had a badge, sheriff's badge. Warren. Didn't give a name, but yeah, and the way he looked at the bike, Pete paused. I don't want it sitting in my shop when he comes back. Call it instinct, call it cowardice, but I want it gone. I understand. Noon tomorrow works. And Mr. Reeves, whatever you're mixed up in, be smart. Warren Blackwell's got a reputation. People who cross him tend to have accidents. So I've heard. Jackson hung up, looked around the diner, at Beatrice laughing with Iris, at the customers eating lunch, at normalcy and peace and life. All of it threatened by one man's greed. He walked outside, called Gideon again. I need backup, not a lot, just 1 or 2 brothers. Can you come down? When? Tomorrow, and bring hardware, just in case. Boss, are you expecting a fight? I'm expecting Warren to make a move, and I want to be ready. I'll bring Tommy. He's been asking about you anyway. We'll leave tonight. Be there by morning. Thanks, brother. That's what family's for. That evening, Jackson told Beatrice about the repairs, about Pete delivering the bike, about Gideon and Tommy coming. She listened quietly. When he finished, she said, It's really that bad. You think Warren will try something? I think he's running out of options. The FBI's asking questions. We've documented his harassment. The bike's almost done. He's losing control of the situation. Jackson met her eyes. Desperate men do desperate things. You think he'll try to hurt us? I think he'll try to scare us. Intimidation, more vandalism, maybe worse. He paused. That's why I'm bringing backup, just in case. Beatrice was quiet for a moment. Then she stood. Wait here. She disappeared into her private quarters, came back carrying a lockbox, opened it on the table. Inside was a pistol, a Colt 1911, old but well-maintained. Douglas's service weapon, Beatrice said. He kept it clean, kept it loaded, taught me how to shoot. She picked it up with steady hands. I haven't touched it since he died, but I remember how. You willing to use it? To defend my home, to defend my life. She met his eyes. Yes, absolutely yes. Jackson nodded. Good. Keep it close. But don't use it unless you have to. Warren's looking for an excuse. Don't give him one. What about you? You armed? Jackson lifted his shirt, showed the Glock 19 tucked in his waistband. Always. They sat in silence, 2 people preparing for war in a place that should have been peaceful. Finally, Beatrice said, How did we get here? 2 weeks ago, you were just passing through. Now we're sitting here with guns talking about self-defense. Life moves fast sometimes. Is it worth it? All this trouble over a diner and a motorcycle. Jackson thought about that. It's not about the diner or the bike. It's about standing up to bullies, about protecting what matters, about not letting corruption win. And if we lose, if Warren wins, then at least we fought. At least we didn't roll over. Jackson leaned forward. Beatrice, I spent 6 years after Diane died doing nothing. being nothing, running from everything that mattered. This right here, this is the first time I felt alive since she died. The first time I've felt like I have a purpose." He paused. "So yeah, it's worth it." Beatrice reached across the table, took his hand. Douglas would have said the same thing, word for word. They sat holding hands while the desert night deepened outside. Two warriors preparing for battle. Two broken people choosing to stand instead of fall. Gideon and Tommy arrived at dawn. Two Harleys rumbling into the parking lot like thunder. Both men were in their 40s, both wearing Angels colors, both carrying themselves like the combat veterans they were. Jackson met them outside. Gideon clasped his hand. "Boss, good to see you." "You too, brother. Thanks for coming." Tommy nodded. "Heard you got lady problems, sheriff problems. Seemed like you could use backup." "Appreciate it." They moved their bikes around back, out of sight. Jackson brought them inside, introduced them to Beatrice. She shook their hands firmly. "Thank you for coming. I know this isn't your fight." "Boss's fights are our fights," Gideon said simply. Beatrice fed them breakfast, listened to them talk, watched how they deferred to Jackson, how they treated him with respect that went beyond friendship. After they ate, the four of them sat in the office. Jackson laid out the situation. Warren's scheme, the pattern of deaths, the vandalism, the expected delivery of the repaired Harley. "So what's the play?" Tommy asked. "We waiting for Warren to make a move?" "We're protecting Beatrice and the bike. Warren wants both gone. We're making sure that doesn't happen." "You think he'll try something today?" "Maybe, maybe not. But I'd rather be ready and wrong than caught by surprise." Gideon pulled out his phone. "I'll set up a perimeter watch. Tommy takes the front. I'll take the back. You stay with Beatrice. Anyone approaches who doesn't belong, we alert each other." "What about weapons?" Tommy asked. Jackson looked at Beatrice. She nodded. "We're armed, legally, for self-defense only. Warren's law enforcement. We can't afford to start anything." "Just finish it," Tommy said with a grim smile. At 11:30, Pete's truck pulled into the lot. The Harley sat on a trailer behind it, covered with a tarp. Jackson and Beatrice walked out to meet him. Gideon and Tommy stayed inside but visible through the windows. Pete climbed down from the cabin, looked nervous. "Mr. Reeves, Miss Holloway, got your bike." "Any trouble?" Jackson asked. "No trouble, but I drove the long way, made sure nobody followed." He glanced around. "You expecting someone?" "Maybe." They unloaded the Harley together. When Pete pulled the tarp off, Beatrice gasped. The bike gleamed. The tank's paint was perfect, deep black, mirror smooth. The chrome pipes shone like new. New mirrors, new seat, every scratch and dent erased. "Oh my God," Beatrice whispered. "It's beautiful. It's exactly how Douglas kept it." Pete smiled. "Did my best. Wanted to do right by it." Jackson paid him in cash, added an extra $200 as a thank you. "You didn't have to do that," Pete said. "Yeah, I did. You took a risk. Appreciate it." Pete nodded, climbed back in his truck. "Good luck, folks. I hope this works out." After he left, Beatrice circled the Harley slowly, touching it like it might disappear. Her eyes were wet. "I can't believe it," she said. "It's perfect. It's really perfect." Jackson rolled it into the garage. Beatrice followed. They stood looking at it in the dim light. "Want to take it for a ride?" Jackson asked. "Now." "Why not? We've got daylight, we've got backup, and the bike deserves to be ridden." Beatrice looked uncertain. "What about Warren? Let him watch. Let him see that he didn't win." A slow smile spread across Beatrice's face. "Okay, yes, let's ride." Jackson started the engine. That familiar Harley rumble, music to his ears. Beatrice climbed on behind him, her arms wrapped around his waist, her grip firm and sure. They pulled out of the garage, past the diner, past Gideon and Tommy, who nodded as they passed, onto the frontage road, then Highway 95. And they rode. Not fast, not far, just 30 miles out into the desert and back. But it was enough for Beatrice to feel the wind again, to feel Douglas's presence in the rumble of the engine, to remember what freedom felt like. Enough for Jackson to feel like he'd completed something important, like he'd honored a promise, like he'd done something worth doing. They returned to the diner an hour later, pulled into the lot. Warren's SUV was parked out front. Jackson killed the engine, felt Beatrice's grip tighten. "It's okay," he said quietly. "Gideon and Tommy are inside. We're not alone." They climbed off the bike, walked toward the diner. Warren stood on the front steps, arms crossed, face hard. "Ms. Holloway," he said. "Mr. Reeves, nice bike. Fixed up real nice." Thank you, Beatrice said. Her voice didn't shake. Shame about the vandalism. Did Deputy Mills follow up on that report? You know he didn't? Warren smiled, cold, empty. Well, these things take time. Investigations, procedures, you understand. What do you want Warren by now? Just checking in, making sure you're okay, making sure you're... He glanced at Jackson. Guests aren't causing problems. The only problem I have is you. Warren's smile vanished. Careful, Beatrice. You're old, you're sick. Accidents happen to people in your condition. Jackson stepped forward. That a threat? Statement of fact. Warren turned his cold eyes on Jackson. And you? I know you've been making calls, asking questions, talking to federal agents. Public corruption's a federal crime. Seemed appropriate. You got no proof of anything. We'll see. Warren stepped closer, into Jackson's space. I've killed better men than you, Reeves. Put them in the ground and slept fine. You really want to test me? Before Jackson could respond, Gideon and Tommy stepped out of the diner, flanked Warren on both sides. Problem here, boss? Gideon asked. Warren looked at them, at their colors, at the muscle and experience written in their faces. His jaw tightened. No problem. Just having a conversation. Conversation's over, Jackson said. Leave. Now. Warren looked at Beatrice. Last chance, sell, take the money, walk away, or what happened to the bike will happen to you. Get off my property. Warren held her gaze for another moment, then smiled. Your funeral. He walked to his SUV, drove away slowly, taking his time, making a point. After he left, Beatrice's legs gave out. Jackson caught her, helped her inside. It's okay, he said. You did great. You stood up to him. He's going to kill us, all of us, just like he killed Ruth and Harold and Marcus. No, he's not, because we're ready, because we're not alone, because the FBI's watching him now. Gideon brought water. Tommy locked the doors. They sat in the diner while Beatrice recovered, while the adrenaline faded, while reality settled back in. Finally, Gideon said, Boss, he's going to escalate. Tonight, tomorrow, soon. That wasn't a warning. That was a promise. I know. So what's the plan? Jackson thought about it, about Warren's desperation, about the pattern of deaths, about how far a cornered man would go. We stay together, watching shifts. Nobody goes anywhere alone. We document everything, and we wait for Warren to make his mistake. And if he doesn't make a mistake, Tommy asked, if he's smart about it, then we make him think we're scared, make him overconfident, give him enough rope to hang himself. Beatrice looked up. How come? You're going to offer to sell tomorrow in front of witnesses. You're going to cave, give Warren exactly what he wants. Why would I do that? Jackson smiled. It wasn't a kind smile. Because Agent Shen needs evidence of quid pro quo, of Warren using his office for personal gain. And the best way to get that is to give him what he wants and record him taking it. Understanding dawned in Beatrice's eyes. A trap. Exactly. You offer to sell. He shows up to close the deal. We record everything. He slips up, says something incriminating, and we've got him. Will it work? Only one way to find out. That night, Natalie arrived. Jackson heard the car pull in around 9, looked out the window, saw a rental sedan, saw his daughter climb out. He met her in the parking lot. She ran to him, hugged him hard. Dad, God, I was so worried. I'm okay, we're okay. She pulled back, looked at him. You look different. Older, but also, I don't know, lighter somehow. I feel lighter. Natalie looked around, at the diner, at the desert beyond. So this is it. This is the place that changed you. This is it. Jackson brought her inside, introduced her to Beatrice, to Gideon, to Tommy. Beatrice took Natalie's hands. Your father's told me so much about you. You look like Diane. People say that. Natalie's eyes were wet. Thank you for being her friend, for being there when she needed someone. She was easy to love. They sat together, ate dinner, talked. For the first time in 8 years, Jackson sat at a table with his daughter and felt like a father. Later, after the others had gone to bed, Jackson and Natalie sat on the front steps, looking at stars. Tell me the truth, Natalie said. How dangerous is this? Very. Warren's killed 3 people we know about, maybe more. And you're still here. I'm still here. Because of Beatrice or because of something else? Jackson thought about how to answer. Both. Beatrice needs help, but also I need this. Need to prove I can still be someone worth being, someone your mom would be proud of. She was always proud of you, Dad, even when she was frustrated, even when you made mistakes. I know, but I needed to be proud of myself. He looked at his daughter. Does that make sense? Yeah, it does. Natalie leaned against his shoulder. I'm proud of you too, for staying, for fighting, for being brave. They sat in comfortable silence, father and daughter, connected again after years of distance. Finally, Natalie said, when this is over, come visit me in Portland. Stay for a week, let me show you my life. I'd like that. Promise, promise. The next morning, Beatrice made the call. She sat in the office with Jackson, Natalie, Gideon, and Tommy listening. Agent Chen was on speakerphone recording everything. Beatrice dialed Warren's number. Her hand shook slightly, but her voice was steady. Warren, it's Beatrice. I've been thinking about your offer, about selling the diner. She paused. I'd like to discuss terms. Warren's voice came through, surprised, pleased. Beatrice, I'm glad you're being reasonable. When would you like to meet? Today, this afternoon, 2 o'clock, at the diner. I'll be there. After she hung up, Beatrice looked at Jackson. Now what? Now we prepare. Natalie will be here as your lawyer, Gideon and Tommy as witnesses. I'll be in the back room with Agent Chen on the line. We record everything. Warren says anything incriminating, we've got him. And if he doesn't, then we go to Plan B. What's Plan B? Jackson smiled, making him so angry he can't help but incriminate himself. At 2 o'clock, Warren arrived. He wore a suit, carried a briefcase, looked every inch the legitimate businessman instead of the corrupt sheriff he was. Beatrice met him at her table. Natalie sat beside her, professional and cold. Warren, this is Natalie Morrison, my attorney. Warren's expression flickered. I wasn't aware you'd retained counsel. Ms. Holloway wanted proper representation, Natalie said. I'm sure you understand. Of course, smart. Warren set down his briefcase. Shall we discuss terms? In the back room, Jackson listened through the hidden microphone Gideon had installed. Agent Chen was on the line recording everything. Warren pulled out papers. I'm prepared to offer $200,000 for the property, building and land, as is. That's half what it's worth, Natalie said. It's a fair price given the location and condition. Fair, according to whom? Warren smiled. According to the market, according to the bypass development, according to reality. The bypass that benefits your property holdings, Natalie said. The ones that triple in value if Beatrice sells. Warren's smile tightened. My personal investments are irrelevant. Are they? Because it seems like you have a financial interest in acquiring this property, in forcing Ms. Holloway to sell. I'm not forcing anyone. I'm making an offer. After 2 years of harassment, after vandalism, after threats, Warren stood. This meeting is over. Sit down, Beatrice said quietly. We're not done. Something in her voice made Warren pause. He sat slowly. I know what you are, Beatrice said. I know what you did. To Ruth, to Harold, to Marcus, I know you killed them. That's slander. It's the truth, and you know it. Beatrice leaned forward. You killed Douglas's friends, his customers, people he cared about, all to steal what he built. Warren's face darkened. Douglas was weak. He wasted his life on this nothing town, on this pathetic diner. He could have been something, could have been somebody. Instead, he settled for scraps. He was happy. He was a fool. And you're a murderer. Warren's hand moved, fast, grabbed Beatrice's wrist, squeezed. You don't know what you're talking about, old woman. In the back room, Jackson moved, but Natalie was faster. Let her go, now! Warren released Beatrice, stood. His mask had slipped completely. The rage underneath was naked and ugly. You want to sell or not? No, Beatrice said. I'll never sell to you, not for any price. This diner was Douglas's dream, and I'll die before I let you destroy it. Warren leaned down, close to Beatrice's face. That can be arranged. Is that a threat, Sheriff? Natalie asked. Her phone was out recording. Are you threatening my client? Warren saw the phone, realized his mistake. His face went white, then red. Get out, Beatrice said. Get out and don't come back. Warren grabbed his briefcase, headed for the door, stopped, looked back. You made a mistake. All of you, and mistakes have consequences. He left. The door slammed behind him. In the back room, Agent Chen's voice came through. Did we get it? Every word, Jackson said. He threatened her on camera, with witnesses. Good. That's enough for me to open a formal investigation. Maybe enough for an arrest warrant, depending on what else we find. Jackson came out. Beatrice was shaking. Natalie held her. "You did great," Jackson said. "You were perfect. He's going to kill us. Tonight, tomorrow, he's going to kill us all." "No, he's not, because Agent Chen's moving now, because we have evidence, because this is almost over." But even as Jackson said it, he felt the weight of Warren's last words. Mistakes have consequences. He looked at Gideon and Tommy. "We're in lockdown. Nobody in or out. We watch in shifts. Stay armed. Stay alert." They nodded. The siege had begun. Night fell. The diner closed early. They locked every door, every window, drew the curtains, turned on every light. Gideon took first watch, Tommy second, Jackson third. At 3 a.m, Jackson sat in the dark diner, gun on the table, coffee growing cold. His phone buzzed. "Agent Chen. Mr. Shreves, we have a problem." "What kind of problem?" "Warren Blackwell is missing. He didn't report for his shift. His SUV is gone. His house is empty." Jackson's blood ran cold. "He's running. Or preparing. Either way, we've lost eyes on him. I'm sending state police to your location. ETA 30 minutes. Stay inside. Stay armed. Don't engage if he shows up." "Understood." Jackson woke the others, told them, saw the fear in Beatrice's eyes. "He's coming," she said. "He's coming to finish this." "Maybe, but we're ready." They took positions, Gideon at the back door, Tommy at the front, Natalie with Beatrice in the office, Jackson roaming between positions. 4 o'clock came, then 4:30, then 5. The first light of dawn touched the horizon, and then they heard it. An engine, getting closer. Jackson moved to the window, peered out through a crack in the curtain. Warren's SUV pulled into the lot, parked. The door opened. Warren stepped out. He wasn't wearing his uniform, just jeans and a dark shirt. He looked wild, desperate, and he was carrying a gas can. "He's going to burn us out," Gideon said. Jackson's mind raced. If Warren set the building on fire, they had minutes before smoke overwhelmed them. They'd have to run, and Warren would be waiting. "Call Agent Chen," Jackson said. "Tell her Warren's here, armed, attempting arson." Natalie made the call. Outside, Warren approached the building, splashed gasoline along the front wall. The smell seeped through the cracks. "We have to stop him," Beatrice said. "No, we wait for the police." "There's no time." She was right. Warren pulled out a lighter, flicked it. The flame danced in the pre-dawn gloom. Jackson made a decision. He unlocked the front door, stepped out, gun at his side. Warren stopped. Warren turned, saw Jackson, smiled. "Come to watch it burn. Put down the lighter. State police are on their way. It's over." "It's not over until I say it's over." Warren splashed more gasoline. "Douglas thought he was better than me. Thought his little diner made him special. Now it's going to be ashes. Just like he is. He was your brother. He was nothing. He left me behind. Went off to the Air Force, became the hero. Left me in prison. Never visited, never called. So I made sure to return the favor." Jackson's gun came up. "What did you say?" Warren laughed. "You think Douglas died of a heart attack? I gave him that heart attack. Rat poison in his coffee. Small doses, over months. Weakened his heart until it gave out. His face twisted with hate. And I watched him die. Watched Beatrice cry. And I felt nothing." Jackson's finger tightened on the trigger. "You son of a bitch. What are you going to do? Shoot a sheriff? You'll go to prison. Die there." "Worth it." Sirens, distant but getting closer. Warren heard them too. His expression changed. Panic, rage, desperation. He flicked the lighter toward the gasoline. Jackson fired. The bullet caught Warren in the shoulder. Spun him. The lighter flew from his hand, landed in dry dirt away from the gas. Warren fell, clutched his shoulder, screamed. Jackson kept his gun trained. "Don't move." State police cars roared into the lot. Doors opened, shouted commands. Officers swarmed Warren, cuffed him, read him his rights. Agent Chen arrived minutes later in an FBI sedan. She approached Jackson. "You okay?" "Yeah. That was a clean shoot. Self-defense. Defense of property. You're fine." He confessed to killing Douglas. "You heard it. Natalie recorded everything on her phone. We got it." Chen looked at Warren being loaded into an ambulance. "He's done. Murder, attempted murder, arson, corruption. He'll die in prison." Jackson lowered his gun. The adrenaline drained away. He felt hollow, empty. Beatrice emerged from the diner, saw Warren, saw Jackson. "Is it over?" she asked. "It's over." She walked to Jackson, took his hand. Together they watched the ambulance drive away, watched the dawn break over the desert, watched the beginning of something new. 3 months later, Jackson stood in the garage behind Holloway's Rest. The Harley gleamed in the afternoon sun. Perfect, complete, a rolling work of art. Beatrice walked in wearing riding boots and a leather jacket. "Ready?" Jackson asked. "I've been ready for weeks. You're the one who keeps tinkering. It's called maintenance. It's called stalling." Jackson smiled. She was right. He'd stayed in Dusty Ridge after Warren's arrest, helped Beatrice through the investigation, testified at the grand jury, watched Warren get indicted on 14 counts including 3 murders. He'd rebuilt the Harley again, made it better than Douglas had ever had it, made it perfect. And he'd found peace. Natalie visited every month, stayed for long weekends, got to know Beatrice. They'd become friends, family. Gideon and Tommy came down twice, helped with repairs to the diner, rode the desert roads. It became part of the community, and Jackson had learned to sleep without nightmares, to wake without dread, to live without running. "Come on," Beatrice said. "Let's ride." Jackson started the engine, that beautiful Harley rumble, music of freedom and memory and hope. Beatrice climbed on behind him, her arms wrapped around his waist, her grip confident and sure. They pulled out of the garage, past the diner now thriving, now full of life, past Iris waving from the window, past the desert that had become home. And they rode, not running, not escaping, just riding, just being alive. The highway stretched ahead, empty, endless, full of possibility. And for the first time in 6 years, Jackson Reeves smiled without sadness, rode without ghosts, lived without regret. Behind him, Beatrice laughed. The sound carried on the wind, a sound of joy, of survival, of victory. They rode into the desert sunset, 2 souls healed by purpose and promise and the simple act of fixing broken things. The road went on forever, and that was exactly enough.